مرحبا يا رمضان مرحبا يا رمضان رمضان مرحبا يا رمضان مرحبا
نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على سيدنا ومولانا محمد رسوله النبي الأمين المكين الحنين الكريم الرؤوف الرحيم. أما بعد، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. My dear brothers and sisters and beloved sons and daughters, Alhamdulillah Ta'ala, by the grace of Almighty Allah, we discussed yesterday the subject of Ar-Rihla wal-Hijra. What does this title mean? What does it imply and signify? And how it can be applied in our lives? And what is the link and connection between these two words? Ar-Rihla, the migration, and As-Suhba, the companionship. And if I want to conclude or summarize the whole discussion of yesterday in one sentence, so I would say that Ar-Rihla is departure and As-Suhba is arrival. Keep in your mind that there can be no arrival without departure. If you want to arrive at any station, you have to depart from some place. Always it is departure which leads you to the arrival. Departure, if it is real departure, it has a guarantee in itself of union with your beloved. If the journey is saved and protected by the dangers or by wrong effects. So there are three stages. The stage of departure, of departing, then keeping your journey and travel protected from calamities and disasters. And these are different effects which lead you to misguidance. Different factors which take you away from the right path. So this protection is needed during your journey. And then your arrival depends upon where you want to arrive at, what destination you have fixed in your mind. But definitely, no arrival is possible without departure. That's why as-suhbah, the arrival, depends upon the real ar-rihla, real departure. Sometimes departure, migration, traveling does take place, but sometimes it is from lower state towards higher state. Sometimes is other way around. The departure and traveling takes place, but from a higher state to a lower state. The second kind of departure, from a higher position to a lower position, had already taken place in our life. Every single soul has experienced this departure. But it is different in different cases, depends upon case to case, man to man, soul to soul. Some souls realize it and some are unaware of that loss or that damage which occurred in the form of the first departure, which was from the higher stage to the lower one. That departure was the separation. Now I have ended up the first subject. Now the second subject is starting. Maulana Rum starts his Masnavi from the point of this departure and this separation. So instead of departure, now I would say separation. He begins his message and his poetic verses with the subject of separation. And he says, how would you like, I should read some couplets just in a common way or little bit like the itikaf style. Not in that style, but little bit similar to that. So Maulana Rum mentions this separation in the words Bishnu azn hai kyun hikayat mein kunad Bishnu azn hai kyun hikayat mein kunad was judai ha shikayat mein kunad. He says, Bishnu azne chu hikayat mi kunat. Maulana Rum says, listen to the creed. What kind of tale or story it is telling? He is talking of flute. Listen to the creed. What tale, what story it is telling, and what kind of separations it is complaining. The word ne, creed, it has been used for spirit, which we say soul. These two words are used for same. Some people use the word soul for ruh. Some people used the word spirit for ruh and soul for nafs. But mostly both words give the same sense. It is commonly understood when we say. So if we say soul, it means spirit. The basic theme is that reed is crying. The spirit is crying. And Maulana Rum says that this reed is complaining. And it is telling some tale, some separation, some story of its separation. And he says, was judai ha. This reed is not telling the story of one separation. No. It is telling a story of many separations. It complains of many separations. The question is, what are those separations? And how many separations are? It has gone through, and about which this reed is complaining. How many separations? Spirit is human before coming to this world and before appearance in this world. Human being in the form of spirit, soul, has been living in different worlds. The birth of humans, when we are born in this world, this birth is not the beginning of human life. Neither this birth is the beginning of human life, nor our death is the end of our life. I would say that death in the same way is not end of our life as the birth is not beginning of our life. We are the people, we are the ones who are living in this world of bodies, world of humans, material world. And we are just aware of the happenings and occurrences and existences of this world. This world is our beginning and this world is our end. This is a big mistake which is keeping us away from the ultimate truth. And we have fallen astray. We are not able to realize the truth, the reality. And that's why we are not able to travel in order to achieve the union with divinity, to achieve our connection with the presence of our Lord. And we are unable to receive the reflections of His beauty in our inner selves. Because for us, this world is everything. We can't see beyond it. We can't see behind our birth, and we can't see beyond our death. Since Rumi says, "Was judai ha shikayat mi kunad," this reed is complaining about many separations. But just he has said this word. Now, it is for us to understand, what does he mean? How many separations are there which he is referring to? There are definitely many separations. The first of the separation is the separation from the realm of angels, angelic realm, angelic world. That is Alamul Malakut. Before coming to this world, human being in the form of his spirit was living in the world of spirits, in the world of angels. In that world of angels is also known as Alamul Amr, the world of divine command, because the divine command of Almighty Allah is received in that realm. That's why it is known as realm of command. And another name has been given to this world, and that is Alamul Ghaib, the world of unseen. Because that world where angels live, where spirits live, the alam which receives the divine command of Almighty Allah, that is Alamul Ghaib. It is unseen because it is beyond our perceptions. Since it is beyond our perceptions, so it is beyond our conceptions. Our conceptions, concepts, are totally based on our perceptions. Perceptions are the outcome of the functions of our senses, of our organs. We see, and eyes, this seeing, send a message to our brain. We hear, a message goes to our brain. We smell, a message goes to our brain. We touch, and the message goes to our brain. We feel, a message goes to our brain. We taste, a message goes to our brain. All these sensual organs are always sending the messages, these perceptions go to our brain. Brain is a factory. It has different functional departments. They have different functions. They receive the voices, they receive the meanings, the images, they retain, they connect them together. Finally, they produce a final product. So there is a whole system working there. When after our perceptions are organized, so the organized perception becomes conception. So conception is always based on perception. There can be no proper conception without perception. Whatever the scientific research say, it also starts its journey. The scientific research starts its journey from observation. It is a perception, observation. Then the scientist continuously goes through many processes. Experimentation and experiments and experiments. Finally, he achieves the stage of theory, hypothesis, then stage of theory. Then after long time, after the conformity and consolidation, In all experiments, he received the same. Then he achieved the stage of law. Whatever law science gives to us in any particular matter, this is law of motion, this is law of gravitation, this is relative gravity, whatever the science is giving to us, it always has undergone through lot of experiences based on perception. The foundation is perception. Doctors prescribe you their diagnosis, their diagnostic science, their prescription, everything is based on perception, symptoms. Then blood tests, then MRIs, everything is based on observation, perception. It is perception which takes you to certain conception, to certain realization, and it becomes a knowledge. So our whole knowledge is based on perceptions, which are created by our senses. So conception are based on perceptions. Whatever cannot be perceived, and it was never perceived, and it is not perceivable in its nature, we won't be able to perceive any time, which is beyond our perceptions. So we will never be able to conceive it properly. Our problem is that we want to create the conception about the realities which are beyond our perceptions. We want to conceive, we want to understand, we want to make a concept, we want to give an opinion, to develop our idea, our faith, based upon our experiences, our knowledge, based on perceptions and based on whole material experiences of material world. So that's why that world which is beyond perceptions and conceptions, that is known as Alamul Ghaib, the world of unseen. So there is one separation which has been experienced by human soul. There was a time when human being, human, in the form of its soul, used to live in that Alamul Ghaib. Before he was sent down, or it was sent down to the womb of its mother. Before it appeared in this world. So that was its nuzul, its revelation. So before that, he lived unimaginable long time. One cannot imagine how long time of its stay was. He stayed there for maybe millions and billions of years. Allah knows better. So human being developed his companies over there. They were his fellow beings. Angels used to live there. The arwah of Anbiya, Awliya and human beings used. Arwah are nur. They are light. They used to live there. They were these two creations, men. And then there were tasbihat, glorification of Almighty Allah. All the time there were sounds of takbir and tahleel and tasbih and istighfar. There were prostrations. There was invocation of the names of Almighty Allah. And they used to receive the commandments of Almighty Allah. And this was the world of purity. There was no impurity in that world. So then there was no humanly desires related to our material or physical body. There were no lusts, there were no greeds, there were no hatreds, there was only love. There was no narrowness, there was just openness. There were no crude people, there was no anxiety, there was no depression, there was no problem, there was no anger, there was no jealousy, there was no arrogance, there was no hypocrisy, there was no lying. All bad habits which human soul has seen, has experienced after coming into this world. This soul has never experienced these kind of bad traits in that world. It has beautiful neighborhoods of angels, neighborhood of lights, used to listen to the voice of Almighty Allah, His commands. It was Noor, just Noor, light. So first of all, and this world had beautiful, pure relationships, beautiful and pure neighborhoods, beautiful and pure friendships, beautiful and pure sounds, beautiful and pure lifestyles, beautiful and pure closeness of Almighty Allah. And this soul was absorbing divine light of Almighty Allah's attributes in itself. It was absorbing, receiving the lights. And living there, since this was the world which was receiving the lights of divine attributes, so by receiving the lights of divine attributes, these souls were changing, attaining the characteristics of divine attributes. They were being colored. They were being dressed with those divine attributes. So they were different in their nature. When this soul separated from that world and came to this world of bodies, so this was, it feels its first separation. This is the first separation. Then there was another world, and that was a world beyond Alamul Malakut, beyond the world of angels and world of spirits. That was Alamul Jabarut. This was the world of divine power, realm of divine power. So, human soul at some time has been in the neighborhood of world of divine power. And this world of divine power means this was the world of the divine names of Almighty Allah, the lights of the names of Almighty Allah, and the lights of attributes of Almighty Allah. Anwarul Asma'il Ilahiyya, lights of the divine names of Almighty Allah. Anwarul Sifatil Ilahiyya, lights of the divine attributes of Almighty Allah. So that Alamul Malakut, the world of angels and spirits, was Alamul Amr, the world of command, where the divine command was being received. And this world of Jabarut is known as Alamul Jama'. This was the realm of union. This was the world of union. So here human soul was observing the beauty of Allah's name and beauty of Allah's attribute. And this, beyond this Alamul Amr, the world of divine command, was the world of divine attributes, and beyond the world of divine attributes, there was another world known as the world of divinity, Alamul Lahut. This was the realm of divinity. This was the world where Allah's command was coming from. So human soul at some time has been experiences all closenesses and all proximities of these worlds. So human soul, before coming to this world, was acquainted with the love of Almighty Allah's command, with the love of Almighty Allah's divine names, with the love of Almighty Allah's divine attributes, and with the love of Almighty Allah's divine power. and the love of divinity and the lights of divinity. Human soul had received the part of all these beautiful qualities and characteristics and lights and influences in it. That's why it was and it is pure of every kind of greed, and pure of hatred and jealousy, and pure of rivalry and arrogance, and pure of grudges, and pure of physicality, pure of human lusts. Then what happened? Almighty Allah says, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Indeed, we have created man in the best of the constitution, in the best of the form and manifestation. That was the best constitution and creation of man, which we have already talked about. Then it is the same thing has been mentioned in the Holy Quran, ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. Then we sent it down to the lower of the lowest. Human souls coming down from that upper levels to this world, these are the separations. And same thing has been mentioned in Holy Quran. One you have already listened, that the human being was created in the best of the forms, then it was sent down, this form was sent down in this world, this lower world. But at another place, it is stated in Holy Quran, that is very interesting, very important point to be understood. One can say that how do we know that insan, the human being or human soul, was really living in that world or in those worlds? So this has been mentioned in Holy Quran. But normally we don't reflect it. It doesn't reflect in our mind. We don't concentrate on this point. It is stated in Surah Ad-Dahr, Surah 76, verse 1. It is stated in Quran, Hal ata alal insani heenum min ad-dahr, lam yakun shay'an madhkura. Surely there has passed over man a period of time. Almighty Allah says, indeed, a period of time has passed over the man, over the human being, when he was not a thing worth mentioning. Lam yakun shay'an madhkura. Almighty Allah has declared that a specific period has passed over the man, on human being, when he was a shay, he was a thing, but not mentionable. It means the man at that time used to exist. He was a thing. He was in existence. But shay'am lam yakun shay'am mazkura, but not mentionable. He was never mentioned at that time. Or nobody, if he was not mentioned, it means that there was no one else to mention him. When one says that he existed at that time, but his existence was not mentionable, you can't mention it. No one else was there to mention it. No one was else there to describe about his existence, to describe his existence, to entail his existence. So the existence of man was there. Almighty Allah didn't say at that time that the man was about say that human being was non-existent. He didn't say this. He did not say that he was ma'doom, that he did not exist. No, Quran says that there was a time that he did exist, but he was not known, he was not discovered, he was not mentioned, he was not conceived, he was not perceived. There was no one to know him or mention him or describe him. This was the time of the existence of human being when even the heavens and earth were not created. The human being had already been created by that time. And the human being had already come out of the state of non-existence. Before that, there was a state of non-existence. Everything was non-existent. Nothing existed at that time except Almighty Allah. So that was Al-Adamul Mahad. It was total non-existence except Almighty Allah. He was, and nothing else. But when he started creating the creation, he created the man not in the physical sense, not in the physical form. It was in the form of light. And Quran says that was the time Hal ata alal insan. And Almighty Allah has named him as insan, human. This title, the nomenclature has been given. That insan used to exist. He was in existence, but it was not mentionable. Nobody knew about its existence. So it means that this insan or human being at that time had come out of the state of non-existence. And he had been brought to the state of existence. Therefore, this was the time which passed on the human, on man. And this time was when he used to live in the presence of Almighty Allah. In the presence of Almighty Allah. That was Alamul Lahut or Alamul Jabarut. Definitely before Alamul Arwah or Alamul Malakut. That was Alamul Jabarut. When human being was not mentioned. Now a question arises here. Why Maulana Rum says that reed is crying, and human spirit and soul is crying and complaining about many separations? The reason, we can get the answer from Quran. At that time, when the existence of human being or existence of insan is established, and with the name of insan, but he was not mentionable. Nobody was there to mention it. The question arises that how he was given the name of insan. Where did this title come from? How was he identified with the title of insan when he was not mentionable and nobody else was there to describe him? This is very interesting. And Quran says that the period passed on at that time, the being on which that period was passing on was insan. So it means this title did exist at that time. So why this title was given to him? Who did give this title to him? What was the reason of giving this title to that existence? What became the origin of the existence of that title? If we go to the linguists of the Arabic language, they say that the word human being is derived from one of the two words. Insan is either derived from uns or derived from the root word nisyan. This is the root word, anasa. Nasiya, this is the root word. Either the word insan has been etymologically, linguistically derived from the root word uns, and uns means intimacy and love. Uns means intimacy, love and cordiality. Or the word insan is derived from nasiya. It is nisyan. It means forgetfulness, that he forgets. Anasa, uns means he loves someone. He loves. He gets intimate to. He loves someone. Nisyan means he forgets something. Either it is derived from this word, uns or love, or it has been derived from nisyan or forgetfulness. If we refer to its first meaning, we take the first root word, and that is uns, anasa. So it means that the word insan was given to this being, to this existence, because of uns, the love, intimacy. So he developed a love for someone. This was a being. In that world, when its first existence took place, non-physical, in the form of light, when he started coming into existence, and this title of insan was given to him. Why this title of insan was given to him at that time? Because this being has developed love for someone. Who else was there? Whose love developed in this being? There was nobody else, because Quran says, Lam yakun shay'am madhkura. Only insan existed. And there was nobody else who could understand him, who could perceive him, who could conceive him, who could describe him, who could mention him. He was not mentionable. If he was not mentionable, it means there was nobody else to know him. If there was nobody else to know him, who would love him and whom would he love to? Whom would he love? And why would he love? There is nobody else to be loved. There is nobody else to be known. There is nobody else to be seen. Why would he love anyone? Because there was none. And it says insan means that he developed love for someone. So the meaning of the word insan is the one who loves is known as insan. And the one who is void of love, who is deprived of love, is stripped of his humanity. The one who does not any love in his heart, the one who does not enjoy the sense of intimacy, he does not enjoy cordiality, he does not enjoy the taste and the sweetness of love, he is deprived of humanity. And human, insan, means the one who loves someone. But who is the beloved whom he loved at that time? There was no one except Allah. There was no one except Allah. So the beginning of human, the beginning of insan, is the love of Almighty Allah. Here he started his journey. His beginning started from loving Almighty Allah and receiving his love into it. This is one meaning. So he started his life, the human being, insan, started his life in Alamul Jabarut, when nothing did exist, nothing was in existence, and insan came into existence. So he started his life with love of Almighty Allah. He got this intimacy to Almighty Allah. He got this nearness and closeness and proximity to Almighty Allah. So he received the lights of the love of Almighty Allah into it. Now coming to the second root word. If we consider that insan is derived from nasiya, from nisyan, it means forgetfulness. The insan is the one who forgets. This is the other meanings. So what did he forget which gave him the title of insan? Coming to the second meaning, second proposition, second option. Yes, we take it too, that the forgetting is inbuilt in loving. The more you develop the love, you keep on loving someone, and the love keeps on increasing in you. When the love achieves the stage of its climax, the climax of love is that you start forgetting every other thing except the beloved. So love includes forgetfulness. Loving and forgetting, they go side by side. The more your love increases, the more you get focus on your beloved. This is the message what Maulana Room says, and I am explaining. He used the word judaiha. This spirit is crying and complaining of many separations. Now it's up to us to understand. Maulana Room stops. He doesn't go into the detail. He said, there are separations. And this reed is crying of all many separations. Now, it is the responsibility of the reader, or at least the explainer or interpreter, his responsibility to explain what kind of separations Maulana Room has referred to. So there are separations of different worlds. And in the end, as I mentioned, that the biggest separation and the biggest sadness for the spirit is in fact the separation from his Lord. The separation from the presence of Almighty Allah's presence. The separation from his nearness and proximity and closeness. And the separation from his direct love. When nobody else, and the beautiful word which Quran has used is lam yakun shayyam mazkura. It takes my mind to a specific state. One explanation I have already given, that human being was in existence and there was none else existed to know him, to understand him, to describe him and to mention him. One thing. There is another aspect of interpretation of this word. Lam yakun shayyam mazkura. That there was none else. If there was none else, it means it was complete seclusion. Complete seclusion. Just there was the beloved and the lover. And there was no in between. There was none else to disturb, none else to interfere with concentration, none else to interfere with this relationship of love, none else to disturb the meditation, none else to disturb the contemplation, none else to disturb the attraction, none else to disturb the attachment, none else to disturb the union. Just insan at that time was united with the presence of Almighty Allah. And he was just focused on a single point, and that was the love of the Lord. So this is the basic separation why he is crying for, that he has been separated from that secluded position. That was a time of retreat. That's why the itikaf has been given in Islam. And the retreats, spiritual retreats have been prescribed in Islam. That's why Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, the Moses went on Tur, on the top of the mountain to have retreat for 30 nights. And when he enjoyed, it was extended up to 40 nights. And that was the result and effect of that retreat, that seclusion, when there was no one else between the lover and the beloved. No one else. Then this was the effect of that seclusion, the 40 days of retreat, that then he was able to say, Rabbi arini anzur ilayk. My Lord, now unveil this curtain. After sitting in seclusion in your proximity, when nobody else is between us, now I feel like to see you, your beauty, your light. So remove the curtain so that I may look at your beauty. He didn't say I may look you. The lovers, this is against the manners of love. This is against the manners of love to say, the lover would say, oh my beloved, I want to see you. No, this doesn't suit to the manners of love. He should say, I want to look at your beauty. I want to look at your countenance. I want to look at your light, your countenance, your beauty. That's it. Don't go beyond that. दूर बैठा गुबारे मीर उससे इश्क बिन ये अदब नहीं आता. So this is reverence. These are the manners of love. Manners in speech, manners in deed, manners in behaving, manners in sitting, manners in walking, manners in connection, even manners in looking. The lover can't see eyes into eyes with beloved. If you can see eyes into eyes, your love is still imperfect. So he said, Rabbi arini anzur ilayk, I can see towards your beauty. And still he said, Lan tarani, I am ready to show you, but you won't be able to look at my beauty. I don't say no, but you won't be able to look at my beauty. So look at how he is caring, the beloved, how much the beloved is caring of his lover. He says, you won't be able to look at my beauty. It will be difficult for you. It will be troublesome for you. He doesn't want to put his lover in troubles. This is how the beloved cares. So these are the separate. Then we will lost in different streets. I don't want to get detract. So I was saying that first root word is uns. So the insan is known as insan. Insan means human because he loves the Lord Almighty. Other word is nisyan, nasiya. And nasiya he is known because when he developed his love and his love becomes perfect or increases up to certain level, goes to climax, then he starts forgetting everything except the beloved, except the commands of beloved, except what the beloved likes. So insan became the lover and the forgetter at the same time. So when his love developed up to the climax, then he forgot everything except Almighty Allah's beauty and His remembrance and His invocation and His glorification and His proximity and His nearness. He forgot everything else. So the meaning of forgetfulness, nasiya, it has again two aspects. One is this. This is higher aspect. This is connected with the climax of love. This is connected with the first meaning. But there is another dimension of the second meaning too. The second meaning has two different dimensions. One, as I have mentioned, it is connected with the first meaning that forgetfulness emerges out of love. Forgetfulness emerges out of love. And the second dimension of the same meaning of forgetfulness is at lower side that we are experiencing today. That we used to love Him and we forgot everything except Him. That was the climax of our soul. Now the second dimension is that when we were revealed to this world, when we were sent down to this world, and we appeared in this world as the physical insan, physical human being, we started forgetting our Lord. This is again the implication of second meaning of Nisyan, that the one who forgets. Whom did we forget? We started forgetting Almighty Allah. So there was a time he asked, am I your Lord? Qalu bala. Alastu birabbikum? Am I not your Lord? So every single soul heard this voice. And the spirit now, the spirit in the form of reed, which is crying, he says, I still listen those words. And sweetness of that voice is still in the ears of my heart. If I close my eyes, I can still imagine the beauty of those lights. If I close my heart, I can still hear the melodies of those beautiful words. Alastu birabbikum? Qalu bala. Am I not your Lord? You see how he used to talk to them directly, one to one. Am I not your Lord? Every single soul replied, why not? Yes, our Lord, you are. These were how the souls used to listen to him and used to speak with him. Now after coming to this world, this reed cries and complains about those separations. Those separations. And we have started forgetting Almighty Allah. So this is the second implication. Since human being was given the physical appearance in this world, the world of bodies, and this world contains the specific traits. And these traits of this material or physical world are conflicting with the traits of the world of spirits and angels and worlds of divine commands and worlds of divine attributes and worlds of divine names and divine lights. There is total conflict and contradiction between the traits. Therefore, when we get indulged in these desires and these lusts, we started forgetting him. We started forgetting his love. We started forgetting his obedience. We started forgetting his glorification. We started forgetting his closeness. We started forgetting to being submissive to his commands. We started forgetting the state of purity, and we started becoming impure. We started the state of generosity. We started becoming stingy. We started forgetting the state of forgiving. We became something else. So we started the state of love. We converted into state of hatred. We became angry people. We became crazy people. We became lusty, people of lusts, people of worldly desires, people of arrogance, people of hatred, people of narrow hearts and narrow minds. So everything was changed, and we forgot those things. That's why Maulana Rum says here, Maulana Rum, that this reed cries about. Now the spirit, the soul, now misses all those things, all those proximities and all those purities and all those beauties, misses, and it cries. And Maulana Rum says, Bishno, just listen why this reed is crying, why this spirit, this soul in your body is crying. and what kind of separations it is remembering and she is missing. I mentioned once this Urdu sher of Akbar Ilahabadi, when he says, just describing these kind of things, kuch na pooch, ए हम नशे मन, मेरा नशे मन था कहाँ, कुछ न पूछ है हम नशी. Don't ask me, oh my companion. Don't ask me, oh my friend, my beloved friend. Where I used to live, where was my nest? अब तो ये कहना भी मुश्किल है वो गुलशन था कहाँ. Oh my friend, now it has also become so difficult to me to identify not only where I used to live, where was that garden where I used to fly. Even I forgot that garden. I can't identify it. Different steps of distances have come, layers of distances, layer of lusts, layers of physical world, and different tears have come in between myself and my old homeland. I can't recognize and identify, and even I can't remember where I used to live. Where was that garden? I forgot everything. So this was the first, you can say, couplet of Maulana Room, the first couplet of Maulana Room. And why this thing has happened? Because when Almighty Allah sent us to this world, He provided us with two potentials. Since He decided to send us in this world, so we have to live here. So He made us from dust, from fire, from water, from air, and all those elements of this world. He comprised us from these things, and chemicals through which the human is constituted. And all those chemicals come out from these kind of atoms. All these atoms and constituent ingredients of our physical body and our chemical constitution. All these elements have specific qualities, specific properties, their chemical properties, their biological properties, their characteristics. From them, morals are emerging, morals and ethics, and our temperament, and our moods, and our qualities emerge out of these qualities, our characteristics. And these things have become our aada. These things have become our aada. This is our habit, or this is our approach to life. This is aada, habit. This is our approach to life. Common, usual approach to life is known as aada. It's our habit. At the same time, He gave another thing. He put another thing in our inner self, and that is irada, intention. That is intention of spiritual search. Still there the search He has put it. The candle of search is still inside. This spiritual search is known as irada. Irada means potential to find something, intention, resolution to, our resolve to find something. That is irada. So we are combination of ada and irada. We have a usual approach based on the worldly habits, and in our inner self we have a potential, that is our spiritual search, which listens like the reed, which listens the voice of heavens, and which tries to find out the reality, the ultimate truth. That's why we are combination of two, our body and our soul. Body comes from this material world. Souls come from heavenly world. And Almighty Allah has stated in Holy Quran, referring to the creation of man, فَإِذَا سَوَّيْتُهُ, when I will create the man, when I will constitute the human body with all elements, I will constitute and I will create a balance and I will perfect it. وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي, then I will blow my spirit in it. Then I will blow my spirit in it. فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. O angels, then you have to prostrate, bow down for him. Prostrate yourself for him. So Almighty Allah mentions two things. One is Savvaituhu, is referring to our chemical or physical or material constitution of our body. And Nafakhtu fihi min ruhi is referring to our spiritual nur and light. So Almighty Allah, the irada inside the spiritual search, it entails the abandonment of the usual approach of two of life, and that is Ada. There is a conflict between the two. Ada wants something else. Irada wants something else. And Almighty Allah says in Surah At-Teen, ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ, that after creating the human being in the form of the best of creation, then we sent him down in this world, in the lowest of the lowers. And now Almighty Allah is further guiding him towards new migration. The next, Al-Rihla and Al-Hijrah. First Hijrah brought him from heavens, from the world of proximity, world of divine command and world of divine closeness to this world. And now he says, oh man, if your reed is crying and you are listening to it and you feel that you should attain the same position, then living in this world, I show you a path. Living in this world, I show you a path. And that path is weaken your ada and strengthen your irada. Weaken your ada and strengthen your irada. The usual approach to life, where you live here, you want to eat, you want to sleep, you want to achieve everything for your own interest. You want to protect your interests and benefits. And that's why you develop your desires and lusts. That's why you develop your passions. You develop your desires. And if you don't get it, you become angry. If anybody disagrees with you, you become angry. If anybody gets more than you, become jealous of him. So you develop jealousies. You develop anger. That's why if anybody you see, you don't like him because certain reasons, so you start hating him. You develop hatreds. You develop bad habits. All these things are based on ada. This is a usual approach to life. And this is based on your lower self. Weaken this ada. Bring all these desires and abilities and characteristics under control and weaken them. Bring them into a discipline, weaken them, and develop and strengthen the irada in yourself. And irada is the spiritual search of that lost reality, your lost station, which you are missing and you are crying about. And in Surah At-Teen it is said, ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ, all those were sent to this lowest world, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ فَلَهُمْ أَجْرٌ غَيْرُ مَمْنُونَ. Instead, in spite of living in this world, you have still a way to get united with the world of Almighty Allah's beauty. So this distance can be converted into nearness if you go on the path of piety and piousness. If you go on the path of self-vigilance and start this path from awakening and self-vigilance, I will explain that. And leave these huzus, the luxuries, and confine yourself to fulfilling the hukuk, the obligations. If you start this struggle in your life, then you will feel that in spite of living in this world, you will start another journey back to the original station. At present, we are being ruled by an-nafsul ammara. We are being controlled by the lower self. At present, we are being ruled by our lower self. And our lower self has all these qualities. Lower self is the most powerful representative of this physical world. It has all these qualities of ignorance, being ignorant of the truth, being stingy, being greedy, being arrogant, being angry, being jealousy, being negligent, having bad morals, hating other people, lying. All these bad morals and habits are the characteristics of our lower self, and lower self represent in this material world. فَإِذَا سَوَّيْتُهُ, all these things are present in this lower self. We need another migration. As we mentioned, according to the title, that every suhbah or every arrival is followed, every arrival needs a departure. And every departure is followed by an arrival. This comes one after one. After every step, has to be a departure from this station. Then again, arrival at other station. Then again, departure from that station and arrival at other station. So this is a continuous travel. You are the travelers. You have to decide whether you want to stay in the world of lower selves, where you don't have nothing except the worldly benefits in front of you. And we are being ruled by the lower self. Or you want to migrate from it. Migration does not mean that you are leaving this world. Does not mean that you are getting out of your job. No. It doesn't mean that you are losing all your benefits of the life. No. You are still living in this world. You will enjoy your benefits, but you will fix limitations. You will balance your life. Still living in this world, you want to come out of the circle of the lower self and its attributes and its adat, its usual habits and approaches and its characteristics. When you start illallazina amanu, except those who become truly faithful and perform good deeds and continue towards this destination, so they will get the rewards which will never come to their end. There will be endless reward. Endless reward would be a continuous upgradation till they reach the station of proximity of Almighty Allah. Till they reach the station of the player of Almighty Allah. So this migration, if you want to listen the read, you want to listen the voice, the crying and complaint of your soul, and you want to listen to it, and you want to understand it, and then you want to regain those pleasures which our soul had been enjoying in the early days and early periods of his creation. When you don't need to leave this world and to send your soul back to Alam-e-Jabarut and then you will be able to enjoy. No. This Almighty Allah has blessed us here. That you can enjoy those pleasures while living in this world. When we are separated, this is a state of at-tafriqa, state of separation. And living in the same world, when we get united with the presence of Almighty Allah, our batin, our qalb, our heart, our spirit, our soul, our intellect, our secret and our ultimate secret, all these 5 inner senses, when they get connected with the heavens, with the worlds of commands and worlds of beauty of Almighty Allah, when we get connected internally with those worlds, so this state of tafriqa converts or transforms into state of jam'a, al-jam'a. So there are 2 states. At-tafriqa, this is state of separation which we are living in. And in this world, we can enjoy the state of al-jam'a, state of union. This becomes al-wusla. So in this world, we can enjoy the same. The same is stated regarding Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam went on Mi'raj and Isra, ascension, he left Makkah, he left this world, went to Al-Quds, Jerusalem, led the Anbiya and Rusul, the messengers and prophets in prayer. Then he was ascended to the heavens. First heaven, second, third, fourth, fifth, seven. Then beyond the heavens, beyond the arsh. Then he was taken to the presence of Almighty Allah. And all veils, curtains were removed. And he sat at a position, ثُمَّ دَنَا فَتَدَلَّا فَكَانَ قَابَ قَوْسَيْنِ أَوْ أَدْنَى. He became closer to Almighty Allah. Almighty Allah granted him with the honor of his closeness. And then they were so close and near that you can't imagine the nature of that nearness and proximity. So when Holy Prophet enjoyed that nearness and he tasted the pleasure of that nearness, when he came back to this world, again started his job and his function and his duty of propagation, of da'wah, of tabligh as a messenger. So he felt, and he felt missing those pleasures of ثُمَّ دَنَا فَتَدَلَّا فَكَانَ قَابَ قَوْسَيْنِ أَوْ أَدْنَى. And this missing, this situation created a burden on his heart. So he thought, oh my Almighty Allah, I am your duty bound. I have again restarted my work. But sometime I miss the pleasures which I enjoyed in that station of ثُمَّ دَنَا فَتَدَلَّا فَكَانَ قَابَ قَوْسَيْنِ أَوْ أَدْنَى. Almighty Allah said, Alam nashrah laka sadrak wa wada'na anka wizrak. O my Mahbub, O my Habib, my beloved, we have opened your heart. We have opened your inner self, your inner secret. Alam nashrah laka sadrak wa wada'na anka wizrak. And the burden of separation. And the burden of separation from that station of Kana Kaaba Kausaini Odana, which you are feeling and you are getting upset and sad. We convert your separation into union in this world. We remove your burden and now you will remain in your function in this world, but you will enjoy the pleasure of remaining with me in that world. Your inner self gets connected with that world. So your every single act for his pleasure on the right direction becomes an act of ibadah. It becomes an act of qurbah, act of closeness, It keeps you in the proximity of Almighty Allah. The only thing, you have to migrate from disobedience. You have to migrate from arrogance. We have to migrate from this, the lusts of this lower self. You have to sacrifice something in order to get something. We have to change our companies. We have to change our friendships. We have to change our priorities. We have to reschedule of our life. We have to restyle our life. We have to reprioritize our life's order. We are lost. We are lost in this world. And Satan, the devil has become our friend. These worldly lusts have become our friend. The passions of our nafs, the passions of our lower self have become our friend. The dunya, the worldly lusts, the passions of nafs, the lower self, and Satan. All we are in the companies of these three enemies. And there is a very big alliance between these three enemies against human being, against our faith, against our deed, against our conduct, against our behavior, against our purity. The shaitan, the worldly lusts, and lower self, passions of lower self, they are together in a form of an alliance. They are attacking from inner self and from outer self. And we are unable to defend ourselves because we have lost the pure companies. We have deprived ourselves from those companies would enable you to defend your faith, to defend your iman, to defend your amal and deed, to defend your conduct, to defend your behavior, to defend your inner self. Or you on your own, none of us on our own is in a position to defend ourselves, our faith, and our inner condition against the alliance, the big attacks of the allied enemies, allied forces, the shaitan, the worldly lusts, and the lower self's passions. Big enemies, uduvun mubin, manifest enemies. They are together. They are attacking on us. And we are busy in chats. We are busy in our Instagrams. We are busy in our Facebooks. We are busy in our chatting with our friends. We are busy in losing the strength of our faith. We are busy in losing the strength of our character. We are busy in losing the strength of our connection with Almighty Allah. And we are busy in losing the connection with your own mission, Minhajul Quran, the path of Quran. We don't have time. We are busy in job. We are busy in families. We are busy in early livelihood. We are busy in so many things, but not busy for Allah. The only thing for which we cannot find time in our lives is the friendship with Allah. Is to work for Allah. Is to do something to please Almighty Allah. Is to put our efforts to promote His message. To take this message to our brothers and sisters. Everybody is waiting in his house. Somebody should lead, then I will start work. There is no one to lead. If you are waiting someone to lead, only then you will start work for the mission, then shaitan will lead. Then shaitan will lead. And shaitan is leading. Then nafs will lead. The nafs is leading. Then dunya, the lusts will lead. The lusts are leading. Then our habits will lead. Habits are leading, already leading. Everybody has chains. Everybody has limitations, weaknesses. Don't, my dear daughters and dear sons, I always remain upset for you. I spent my whole life for you, for the Ummah of Holy Prophet, for the generation of Holy Prophet. You know, I have never done any any business out of all these propagations and teachings and halaqas and hidayah and writing the books. I have not done anything. 550 books are published. You know, these are not my business. I don't receive a single penny. 8,000 lectures are in your hands. I don't receive any royalties. No, absolutely nothing. I have not done anything for myself. Whatever I can do with the command and with the will of Almighty Allah, for just two things. Just to please my Lord and to please my beloved Prophet and to bring you on right path. To provide you with the light of good character, to provide you the light, the noor of good moral conduct, to bring the light, the noor on your foreheads of sujood or prostrations, to provide you pure characters. When you become good, pure, having excellent morals and behaviors, then at least I will be able to get a smile from my Prophet, beloved Prophet. I will be able to get a smile from the presence of Almighty Lord. He will say, you have done some work. I'm living for you, for the sake of Almighty Allah. And if you don't respond, and you spend your days and nights and your lives in laziness, waiting other people, other brothers and sisters to lead, nobody will lead and life will go away. The time will pass. Every single person amongst you has to be a leader. When you get married, you become leader of your house. You take the matters in your hand, you or your wives, you become the leader of that small unit. Just start a small unit of Allah's work. In the same way as you start the unit of your family. This is Allah's work. Of course, this is not a job which will pay you monthly salary or weekly salary. This will not pay you, but it will pay. I tell you, it will pay. I can't you how much payment you get out of that. When you see the smiling face of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when you see the smile of the player of Almighty Allah, and when you feel the player comes into your heart and your inner self connected with the presence of Almighty Allah, you can't imagine what kind of regard this is. This is a reward. The best of the rewards. Take some time off from your other engagements and fix that time just for Allah, for your Lord. And this is a vessel, this is a means. The Minhajul Quran work, this is a means for you to take you to Almighty Allah.
This Iftari is sponsored by the Wahbe restaurant in Gants Hill, Ilford, and Plashett Carpets in Upton Park.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم إني لك صمت وبك آمنت وعليك توكلت وعلى رزقك أفطرت. وصلى الله تعالى على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على حي على الفلاح. حي على الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله في الأولين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه في الآخرين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه في الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت سيدنا ومولانا محمد الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته وارزقنا شفاعته يوم القيامة إنك لا تخلف الميعاد.
This Iftari is sponsored by the Wahbe restaurant in Gants Hill, Ilford and Plashett